chapter 17. It is about the Great North Road to Abazon. A few minutes after leaving Basa, the luxurious bus overtakes smaller vehicles, but the task starts to give way on the road as the journey advances. Once the bus leaves the forest and enters the vast land, Chris heaves a sigh of relief. The officers of the checkpoints are not as rigorous they are not as rigorous as those in Basa, and they are interested in collecting money from the drivers rather than checking who is on the buses. Chris notices that the drivers are used to what they are doing, but after leaving the checkpoint, they curse the policemen. They take the money openly, and Chris also realizes that the modern buildings start disappearing, giving way to normal zinc roofed houses. After 5 hours in the journey, the bus pulls up at Agbata, a large and active place for the part of the country. The passengers are happy to get a break for the heat in the bus. There are different kinds of delicacies of food, but what catches Chris's attention is the multiple wrong spellings of words where food is sold and the lack of water in the region. The trio eat and continue the journey until they reach a vast deployment of troops, which makes Chris' heart to leap. Luckily, the driver goes down, which makes Chris' heart to leap. Luckily, the driver goes down from the bus and meets them to hand over money. From then on, the journey continues, and it is just a desolate piece of land full of dust and open dry land. The people had descended from the bus, and Emmanuel had tried in vain to cut a young lady, and he moves to join Chris as the lady rebuffs him. The young lady is called Adama, and she is a nurse, and her father is a custom officer. As they approach a crowd and they think there must have been an accident, they later realize that the people are jubilating and drinking beer. Chris catches the word coup from many people and goes down to get coherent information when the bus halts. They have heard from the radio that there has been a coup d'etat and the people have seized a government lorry carrying beer. Ironically, the radio has also been stolen. Chris wants to find out from the policeman what the fate of His Excellency is, and he learns that His Excellency had been kidnapped and he has disappeared and is nowhere to be found at the presidential palace. The people regret the poor leadership that has characterized African countries since the departure of the white man, leading to instability. Lastly, Chris learns that the Army Chief of Staff has taken over the reins of the government and decides to return to Basa. Chris spots the policeman dragging a young lady with his gun hung on his shoulders when the others look on in amusement. Chris intervenes and threatens to report the policeman to the Inspector General of Police and accuses him of stealing the lorry load of beer and abducting a girl. He tells him that you are a disgrace to the force. The policeman lowers the gun, aims at Chris, who is defiant, and he shoots him in the chest at close range. Chris sinks to his knees, and the girl kneels in frantic effort to stop the blood from oozing from his body. Chris smiles and mutters the last grin and dies. The policeman drops the gun and flees after learning that he has just shot the Commissioner of Information. Emmanuel chases him, catches him, they struggle and wrestle in the doors, and he slips from his hands and disappears. The focus is on the Great North Road and Chris' escape to Abazon. The roads are bad and neglected, highlighting lack of development, misery, and incompetence. The corruption in the country is also depicted through the policemen collecting bribes openly on the road. Ironically, they do not put more attention on checking the passengers, thereby giving Chris a safe passage to a secure place. The level of desolation in Abazon is very visible. There is lack of water, dust is everywhere, and the land is very dry. The celebration of the crowd that Chris and the companions meet is justified because of the neglect of the area. There is another military takeover, plunging Kangan into another state of instability. The indiscipline that reigns in the country is seen in the seizure of the lorry truck of beer and the sergeant who wants to rape a young girl. Chris has no other choice but to defend the young lady by moralizing the policeman who takes offense. The shooting of Chris symbolizes the anarchy that reigns in Kangan. Chris dies briefly and smiles, which will represent a change for a better Kangan. From the commentary of the men, Africa's problem has always been its leaders.